Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Tyler, and today we are going to be doing What If Broly Landed on Yardrat featuring my boy DH Animations. Of course, you can go ahead and give your intro, bro. Say what's up, big dog.
What's good, y'all? You know what I'm saying? DH in the building. Y'all already know how we rockin'. What's good, Tyler?
And with that funny intro out of the way, let's get right into the video, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, collecting rings like a Sonic. Bitches wanna party. My wrist getting heavy, so I got 'em on a diet. Yeah, flex like I'm Hogan. Yo, bitch coming over. We respect.
We start our story off with Broly and Paragus being sent off to Vampa, but this time Paragus manages to change the controls and set it course to a different planet. In Paragus's mind, he quite literally thinks anything is better than going to Vampa, so he doesn't care which planet he goes on. And we will say the reason why he sets course to a different planet is because let's say that Broly's coordinates to his ship is actually messed up and it's not heading to Vampa rather than a different planet. Paragus proceeds to try and get his son back with Beat on the side, of course, and Beat is still here, by the way. Just wanted to, get that little side note out the way because Beat is a goat. And with that being said, they would eventually crash land on a planet known as Yardrat. Now, when arriving onto the planet, the boy would be greeted by the Yardratians, and another ship, which would be with Paragus and Beat, would also arrive, and the Yardratians also greet them, and the Yardratians would question if this boy indeed belongs to them, and Paragus and Beat would not, and Paragus at first would be a little aggressive, but when the Yardrats assure that they are peaceful people, Paragus and Beat decide to settle down here for now, and they would be met with their leader of the Yardrats, aka Paibara. Paibara would greet them to their world, and when Paragus explains as to why they are here, and he would see how their space pods are all practically destroyed, which Paibara would then come up with an idea. He would say how he and his friend and his son can stay here for the time being since they have nowhere else to go, and Paragus would appreciate that a lot, and they wouldn't need to worry about food or water since Yardrat has plenty of that. And I do think that assumption is pretty safe because they do have enough food and water to at least have a civilization, and that would be an assumption in itself to say that the Yardrats don't eat or drink. And so with that being said, Paragus, Beat, and Broly decide to stay on Yardrat for a little while, and eventually this would become their new home. And over the years, Paragus would settle down. Instead of being a really aggressive old man, he would just kind of settle down and be a lot more chiller than his canon self. And Beat would just be vibing with the Yardrats, coming up with new inventions for them just in case if they need any help, and Broly at the right age would actually begin training with the Yardratians, since I do believe Paragus would mention about Broly's potential. And I do think even if their space pods were fixed, I do think that Paibara, since he does know spirit control, would be able to sense all the Saiyans dying to Frieza, and so he would just alert them that their planet is now gone. Which wouldn't really matter because this would just become their new home anyway, but that's just a little side note for some of those comments that will probably appear on this video regardless because no one ever listens to me. Anyways, Broly at the right age would begin training with the Yardratians like I said previously, and Paragus would also allow them to train him since he can't really do it himself due to his lower power, and it's the least he can do since he does want Broly's potential to be tapped into. Not to mention, Broly should learn how to defend himself, and with that being said, over the course of Broly training, he would obviously grow up and he would slowly gain knowledge about spirit control and even do things such as meditating, and this would eventually lead into Broly learning the fundamentals of spirit control. Now, Broly in canon did have his rage moments at times, but now Broly in this timeline is able to control himself and even tap into his rage power, but he only does it when necessary. He's able to actually stay in this state without going insane due to the training with the Yardrats, and Broly, due to having done a lot of training on Yardrat, would not only know instant transmission, but he would also have gigantifications, clones, and spirit fission. He would also have far greater sensing and ki abilities. Broly overall has just become one of the strongest people on Yardrat, if not the strongest, and he would basically continue up his training day to day, and I also do think Paragus and Beat would get a little bit of a power increase, however they just wouldn't be nearly as strong as Broly or really any of the higher ups of the Yardrats. They just kind of only learned a little bit of spirit control to kind of defend themselves. You guys may think that this is kind of unrealistic, but again, Paragus and Beat barely know any spirit control, and they have been living on Yardrat for at least more than a decade, so it's the least that they can do. They do want to defend themselves after all. They don't always want to just rely on Broly and the other Yardrats. It's just a worst case scenario type of thing, and I hope you guys can understand that. Now with that being said, Goku's space pod would then crash land onto Yardrat similar to in canon, and Yardratian guards along with Broly would then approach the pod and they would see a fatigued Saiyan. They don't know that he's a Saiyan yet, but I'm just referring to Goku as the Saiyan. Now with that being said, Broly along with the Yardratian guards would then recover Goku and make sure he's healed up, and they would then question Goku as to what had happened and why he crash landed here. Goku would then proceed to honest answerly, and he would basically go over the entire situation that he was in, and Paragus would overhear that this Goku guy beat Frieza. Paragus is shocked, and he would then question how he was able to defeat Frieza, and Goku would then tell him that he transformed into a state known as Super Saiyan. And this is where Paragus and the others would figure out that Goku is indeed a Saiyan, and since they were already aware of Planet Vegeta's destruction due to Frieza thanks to Paibara sensing it happening, Paragus would thank Goku for avenging their race, and with that being said, Broly would then question what this Super Saiyan power is, and Goku would then flex off this power and everyone is stunned, especially Beat and Paragus and Broly. Goku would then sense around the area and would then say how Broly looks pretty strong and if he'd like to spar, which Broly would be happy to participate in since he hasn't had a real challenge in a while, and really at all. The two would then begin fighting, with Goku de-transforming back into his base form and Broly starting out in his base form since he doesn't like to use his wrathful form unless it's like a strong enemy or whatever, and Goku and Broly would begin to fight. Broly in base to base compared to Goku would be dominating him and would be bullying him in base to base, and this would push Goku to even using the Kaioken times 20, which even that wouldn't be enough to stop Broly. Now Goku would be getting a little bit more excited and would decide to use Super Saiyan and not go 100% in Super Saiyan since he feels like that would be way too much, but rather he would use a good amount of energy to the point to where it would KO Broly. Broly goes down and he would quickly heal his wounds, and after this Goku would know that Broly was holding something back, but he just decides to just keep that in his head, and Goku, like in canon, would train here in reference to Yardrat for about a year, and I do believe with Broly here helping Goku train, he would get astronomically more powerful, and you could make a case for him learning more spirit control type techniques. However, I'll just say for the sake of argument, Broly would only just be increasing Goku's base power by an astronomical amount rather than just teaching him the spirit control techniques, and Goku sadly would only get instant transmission. However, he just gets a lot more raw power which makes up for it, and eventually Broly would sense from a far distance two very powerful energies speeding past them. Obviously not exactly near them, but it is to the point to where Broly and Goku could sense it, and Goku would then say how it might be Frieza and another enemy that he probably doesn't know, and Paragus would then imply that it might be King Cold since it has been rumored that he is just as strong as Frieza, if not more powerful.
Broly, knowing that there's two powers out there that are very powerful, decides to instant transmission with Goku to take them on, which Paragus at first doesn't want to happen, but
What
Broly...
I tell you about peeing on the toilet?
What?
That daggone toilet in there is pissy. Get your hind parts up and go in there and clean that doggone toilet.
I'm recording.
Don't nobody care nothing about your pissy tail cleaning it. Get up and go clean that doggone toilet. It better be clean too.
But yeah, Paragus at first he doesn't want Broly to go down there, but Broly would make it very clear that he's going to help Goku fight because Goku and Broly are now friends. Goku smirks and thanks Broly as the two then use instant transmission to head to Mecha Frieza and King Cold, who had just arrived on Earth. Broly would decide to take care of King Cold while Frieza faces Goku for the second time and leads Goku into tapping to his Super Saiyan form and killing the Emperor. While Broly, that man is pushed to his wrathful form, and that's enough to kill King Cold. So King Cold and Frieza would be killed off, and this leads to Trunks arriving and warning Goku about the androids, which leads into a 3-year time span where everyone trains. Broly, after hearing this, promises to try and come back during those 3 years to train, and when doing so, he would tell Paragus that he defeated King Cold, which Paragus would be really proud of Broly. He'd be like, you know what I'm saying, like, yeah, that's my little right there, you know what I'm saying? But Broly would tell Paragus that he would be going out in a few months to train with Goku to stop a brand new threat, which Paragus doesn't like the sound of, but he knows his son is a grown-ass man, and he just made a new friend, and he's like, he knows how important Goku is to him. So all Paragus does is tell Broly to promise him that he'll be alright, and Broly does so. Them Yardrats really did have an effect on my boy Paragus, bruh. He doing a whole 360. Or is it one 180. Well, I gotta count with my fingers real quick. 1, 2, 3. The point is that Paragus' character is changing. Anyways, after a few months of training on Yardrat, BROLY would go down to Earth via instant transmission, and he would actually help Goku prepare himself, along with Piccolo and Gohan, for the android threat, which would lead into BROLY and Gohan becoming friends, since they're kind of similar. They're cut from the same cloth. Gohan and BROLY, they're built the same, you know what I'm saying, and not always resorting to violence. But BROLY does tell Gohan that it is good to learn self-defense, because if your planet about to get blown up and you don't know how to throw hands, now you looking stupid. Now everybody did because you ain't want to fight. You know what I'm saying? So BROLY had to check that nigga, bruh. He had to tell him straight up, you know what I'm saying? And Gohan would take those words into consideration here, and he would try to push himself even further into training. Piccolo and BROLY also become friends, which isn't nearly as significant as the bond as Gohan and BROLY, but they do get along well. And he's glad to know that there's another Saiyan out there who isn't really bad, unlike Nappa, bro. Because if y'all remember Nappa, bro, like, we ain't gonna talk about him. The four train very hard, and this leads into a version of Gohan unlocking Super Saiyan. Piccolo becoming stronger than Trunks and Goku, being the second strongest right behind BROLY, and the Android Saga will start up. And I believe that Goku here would kill Android 19 before the heart virus takes effect, due to the fact that Goku is a lot stronger this time. You know what I'm saying? And BROLY would beat the... like, he will beat the... Bro, he beats the hell out of Android 20. Dr. Gero isn't going to go off guard on this beast. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to catch BROLY slipping. And so this means that the androids are defeated way faster than in the canon story, due to the extra training that the Z Fighters had. This means 17 and 18 don't get released, but rather Imperfect Cell will be creeping in the shadow. You know how Imperfect Cell, Bree. You know what Imperfect Cell be doing, bro. Like, bruh. There's something about Imperfect Cell, like, he a little suspect, bruh. Like, what, like, is that his tail or is that something else? Like, when he be sucking people up his tail, what is he really doing, bruh? What is that? Bro, that's not sitting right with me, bro. Like, who told Dr. Gero to come up with... Never mind, bro. Never mind. But yeah, Android 17 and 18 don't get released. And Cell will be creeping in the shadows until he finds the lab of the three androids, where he would destroy Android 16's pod, and he would absorb Android 17 and 18 immediately. Which means that Imperfect Cell would become perfect way faster than he did in the canon story. He would begin testing his powers on the Z Fighter, who he would fly to in an instant and introduce himself and tell his backstory. Goku at this point would be home recovering from the virus, while BROLY and Piccolo and Trunks and now even Vegeta are left to handle this guy. And Piccolo, Trunks, and Vegeta would all be defeated in a flash, while BROLY in his wrathful form would try to put up a fight. He holding his own. He chicken nugget in a little bit, but like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like Cell got like the whole chicken. Like, he got like a big, meaty, juicy Popeyes chicken sandwich, and BROLY just got a couple chicken nuggets. You know what I'm saying? And the chicken nuggets don't even got no sauce, but Cell got a whole bunch of sauce and stuff on his sandwich. However, it ain't enough, and he's quickly, you know what I'm saying, he's defeated, like I said. And Cell would then think to himself, he wonders if he should kill all these Z Fighters now, but luckily Piccolo would say, if they just gave the Z Fighters like a week to train, they could bring someone way stronger to give Cell to smoke. And Cell is curious how a week can make that much of a difference, but you know what I'm saying, he not complaining, because Cell, he got those Saiyan genes, so like he wants a good fight. And so this leads into the Cell games being made Kami, you know what I'm saying, Piccolo fuses with Kami, and he would tell the Z Fighters to come to the lookout. Kami would then, you know what I'm saying, like I said, fuse with Piccolo, but sadly this power is nowhere near enough to tangle with Cell. As I said, Cell has a chicken sandwich. And when they were here in the time chamber, Piccolo knows that BROLY definitely should go in first. But who does he want to go in with? And BROLY would then choose his homie Piccolo as his partner. He like, nah, bro, like, me and you, I know I said me and Gohan cut from the same cloth, but really, me and you cut from the same cloth, Piccolo. Come in the time chamber with me. You know what I'm saying? We built different. And during this time, BROLY would nearly awaken his Super Saiyan form, but it isn't enough just yet. And Piccolo would gain a massive power boost, putting him at about like grade 2 Vegeta's level in canon. And when he first emerged from the chamber, at this point Goku and Gohan would have made it to the lookout, with Goku being recovered, and Goku and Gohan would then go in, which would be the same training, and BROLY knows that like this Super Saiyan power could really be useful against him, and if he could just push it, he can obtain it, you know what I'm saying? And then the rest of the days would go by, and Piccolo, Trunks, and Vegeta and BROLY would use their second day, but BROLY doesn't even obtain Super Saiyan yet, bruh. BROLY really need to get on his grind, get Super Saiyan.
Eventually, the Cell games would begin, and Cell vs. Goku would play out the same, along with Cell vs. Gohan, which would lead into Goku still sacrificing himself against Cell, and Broly seeing his first friend gone, and especially when he sees that his sacrifice was for nothing, as Cell comes back even stronger, and even kills Trunks. This would then give Broly the right amount of S cells to Sparring, and this would then lead into Broly obtaining the Super Saiyan transformation, which would then lead into Broly not only just bullying Cell, but rather also turning Broly kind of insane. The reason why it applies to the Super Saiyan form and not the Wrathful form is because Broly had plenty of time to actually control himself with the Wrathful form. And due to the circumstances that Broly had just faced, I do think it's pretty acceptable to see Broly spurging out, especially that it's his first time turning into a Super Saiyan. This means that Broly wouldn't use Spirit Fission to try and release the androids from Cell, and the reason why he didn't do it earlier is because he was simply too slow, and compared to Cell, Cell would just easily outspeed him and outclass him. And this time he can't even think right now, so he's not going to think to use Spirit Fission. This would then lead into Vegeta also spurging after Trunks gets shot, and this would then lead into Vegeta and Broly combining their power and working in unison with each other, albeit kind of weirdly because again Broly and Vegeta are just not thinking straight right now. And due to the overwhelming power of Broly, and with Vegeta also probably distracting Cell from Broly, this would lead into Cell actually dying here, and this would not lead into a father-son Kamehameha versus Solar Kamehameha clash, and Broly and Vegeta work in unison to kill Cell. And with that being said, this would lead into Vegeta powering down into base, with Broly continuously growing stronger and growing even more insane. But luckily Gohan and Piccolo would help the Saiyan snap out of it, just barely. After Broly snaps back into reality, he collapses to the ground. After Broly gets taken to recovered by Dende, who Goku would have still gone out for, things begin to align with the canon timeline, and Trunks would still leave along with the 7-year gap starting. But when it starts, Gohan would actually train during these 7 years along with studying, thanks to Broly encouraging Gohan to train and get over his weaknesses to help out his loved ones, which was the same message he tried to deliver at the beginning of the saga if you remember. Broly would obviously have his last chat with Goku as well, and while he's in the other world connecting with everyone, and Broly promises to train and perfect this Super Saiyan form for his friend. And so Broly would return to Yardrat, and Paragus is glad his son is alright. And Broly would proceed to tell his dad along with Beat and the rest of the Yardratians what had gone down on Earth, and this would wrap up part 1 of What If Broly Landed on Yardrat. Part 2 will be coming out very soon, and with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned.